Take your mind into the wonderful world of physical, emotional, psychological, and spiritual wellness. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Kinetic Hour. Conversations with you and guests. With your host, Kenan Wesley Mason. That's me. All right, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Kinetic Hour. I am your host, Kenan Wesley Mason. Welcome one, welcome all. Thank you all for tuning in as we are on this final day of February. And this is a different kind of a year as I welcome all of you here to the Kinetic Hour. Before I go any further, make sure you subscribe to the Kinetic Hour. There's always two to subscribe to. There's the Kinetic Hour, and that's Kinetic, Kennetic, Kinetic, the Kinetic Hour, and the other is Kinetic Fit and Wellness Info, Kinetic Fit and Wellness Info for all things health related. Physical health, mental health, mental health, psychological health, and spiritual health. So always go and check me out. Click thumbs up, leave your comments, tell everyone you know to listen and look out for the Kinetic Hour. Tell everyone that you know to listen to the Kinetic Hour, and also subscribe to Kinetic Fit and Wellness Info. Kinetic Fit and Wellness Info. Today is the last day. Today is the last day of February, and today is the last day of what we acknowledge as Black History Month, or African American History Month, or African American Heritage Month. However you want to term it. It's all the same as we recognize people that wouldn't otherwise be recognized or acknowledged for their contributions to the things that we use and see and do every single day that we don't even consider. So this week, I'm going to highlight three specific individuals. And because the final day of Black History Month is on a leap year, so this specific day won't happen for another 4 years because it's leap year, meaning that there's an extra day in the calendar year to balance out how the earth revolves around the sun. So nothing gets out of place permanently. So yeah, I'm going to highlight three specific individuals for this final day of Black History Month. And I'll be posting clips of all of these throughout the year because I've always said that Black history should be learned throughout the year, just like all other history is taught to us throughout the year. And especially or specifically in the public school system, where we tend to learn predominantly about the accolades and accomplishments of Caucasian people here in America. And nothing wrong with that, you know, because there have been some great people that have made some great contributions. And with that, there are people, men and women, that look like me, that have made, some would say, even greater contributions to America. And again, these are things that we use every single day that we don't even give any consideration to on where the idea came from. The idea. We all have brains, and our brains are made to think and create new ideas for the further evolvement and development of the planet. So I'm going to read here. And again, this comes from a book that I've been highlighting through these last couple of episodes here. It's called Book of Black Heroes, Scientists, Healers, and Inventors, an Introduction for Young Readers by Wade Hudson. And this is a great book highlighting a number of great people in this book here. I think there's a picture of, yeah, there he is. Picture of Wade Hudson right here. I'll just show his picture here. There he is right there, Wade Hudson. He's the author of this great book here. And I'm going to highlight, the first person I'm going to highlight is, this is a woman that my daughter just recently did a report on this specific individual. Her name is Dr. May C. Jemison. Dr. May C. Jemison. And my daughter's teacher she really liked the report too. She got a good grade on that. But I want to highlight, matter of fact, I'm going to pull this page up as I'm reading here. So we all can know who we're referring to when it comes to African American history. And there she is right there, Dr. May C. Jemison. And I'm just going to read here directly from the book. And again, all of these are short passages highlighting their accomplishments and some of the things that they had to go through to get to their accomplishment. Right here in 1987, Dr. May Jemison was sitting at her desk at a hospital in Los Angeles, California. She was between patients taking care of some paperwork when the telephone rang. It was a representative of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, otherwise known as NASA. The young physician was told she had been chosen as an astronaut candidate. She could become the first African-American woman to travel in space. This was just the latest in a series of notable accomplishments by the multi-talented May Jemison. Born in Alabama, but raised in Chicago, Illinois, May received her Bachelor's of Science degree in Chemical Engineering and a Bachelor of Arts degree in African and Afro-American Studies simultaneously from Stanford University. From there, she enrolled in Cornell University Medical College, where she became very active in student and community-based groups. She also maintained an interest in third world countries. May traveled to Cuba, Kenya, and Thailand to work and continue her medical training. After graduating from medical school, May joined the Peace Corps and worked in Africa, supervising healthcare programs for Peace Corps personnel. Upon her return, she worked as a general practitioner in Los Angeles. She then applied for admission to the astronaut program. 3 months after May first applied to NASA, the Challenger disaster occurred, taking the lives of 7 astronauts, including that of an African American, Ronald McNair. But the incident did not deter May. She simply reapplied when the selection process was reopened. A year later, she was notified that she had been chosen from nearly 2,000 applicants as one of 15 members of NASA's 1987 astronaut training program. May completed a one-year training and evaluation program in August 1988. In August 1992, May traveled into space on Space Lab J, becoming the first woman of color to do so. This mission was a cooperative venture between the United States and Japan and focused on research in life sciences and material development. May is now a much sought-after speaker and consultant. And that's Dr. May C. Jemison, astronaut, the first female astronaut to travel into space. The first woman to travel into space in 1992. And I do remember the 1986 Space Shuttle Challenger disaster. It was a disaster, and I do remember it. This was in 1986. I was in the 6th grade at that time, and it was all over the news all day for the next maybe 2 or 3 days, because it was just so unexpected. And 7 people did lose their lives, including, as read here, McNair. Ronald McNair, African American. I believe he was the first African American to go into space, if I'm not mistaken. But he was one of the 7 astronauts that lost their lives to the Space Shuttle Challenger. And so that held back the application program, which didn't open up until 1987, a year later. So Dr. Jemison applied, and she was accepted out of 2,000 applicants, one of 15 in the 1987 astronaut training program. And she became the first woman to go into space in August of 1992, which was the year that I graduated high school, actually, 2 months earlier in June of 1992. But this is great. It just goes to show that, and it shows my daughter as well and other young girls that they can do great things, including go into outer space. We got a glimpse of a movie that came out a couple of years ago. I think it was during the pandemic. About 4 African American women that helped navigate certain spacecraft through space. The movie was called Hidden Figures, because the people that were in control of the space program, there were certain calculations that they didn't know. But because of their arrogance, not only arrogance, but because of the racism that was flowing through their veins, many of them, in their minds, there was no way that a dark-skinned woman or dark-skinned women of African American descent could possibly figure out the calculations of outer space. There's just no way. That was their thinking at that time. But they proved that, and Taraji Henson played one of the women in that movie. She played one of the main characters. Taraji Henson, the one that was, complaining about how Hollywood is not compensating her accordingly to her body of work. Taraji P. Henson, which is a whole nother story relating to Hollywood. But nonetheless, Hidden Figures highlighted 4 African-American women that turns out that they had more knowledge in mathematics and calculations about how to travel through space more than the people that were the heads at NASA at that time. We're talking back in the 1950s and 60s. Oh, because we were just considered the help. That's what we were considered, or that's what the women were considered at that time. Nothing but the help. But they were giving the astronauts the calculations on how they can travel through space at a smoother rate. Hidden Figures. And here we have Dr. Mae Jemison, first Black woman, or first woman, period, first woman of color to go into outer space in August of 1992. So hats off to her, Dr. Jemison. And she's still active, as the book says. She's still active today, speaking and doing lectures. So yeah, so she's great, and she is to be admired. Dr. Jemison. Next, we're gonna go out of that particular realm of. We're gonna go out of science, and we're gonna go into inventors, great inventors of the 20th century, and the 20th century, especially during the industrial era, or the era of the Industrial Revolution, where we had what we call the, quote, titans of industry, the people that helped to build America into what it is today economically and industrially. So the next person I'm going to highlight here that's good. The next person I'm going to highlight here is Lewis Latimer. Lewis Howard Latimer. Electrical engineer. And his story is great. And so is the next one that I'm going to highlight as well. Lewis Howard Latimer, electrical engineer. And I'm going to put his picture on the screen here so we can highlight Lewis Latimer. There he is. Lewis Latimer. Lewis Howard Latimer loved to draw and had a talent for painting. When Crosby and Gould, patent lawyers, advertised for an office boy, Lewis applied for the job and got it. The law firm secured patents for inventors. Patents had to be accompanied by detailed drawings, and draftsmen were used to make the drawings. Lewis gradually learned drafting techniques and convinced his employers to let him make drawings of some of the patents. His work was outstanding, and he was given a job as a draftsman. Alexander Graham Bell, creator of the telephone, was one inventor with whom Lewis worked. Bell needed a draftsman to assist him with the patent application, and he asked Lewis to help him with it. Lewis did the drawings and assisted in preparing the descriptions needed to complete the application for Bell's invention. The patent was issued in 1876. Soon, Lewis began working on inventions of his own. One of his earliest was a water closet or toilet for railroad cars, patented in 1874. In 1879, Thomas A. Edison invented the incandescent electric lamp, which ushered in a new age of electric lighting for the world. In 1881, Lewis and Joseph V. Nichols, his business partner, received a patent for their own electric lamp. Lewis and Nichols's invention dealt with a method of mounting the carbon filaments or connecting them to the metal wires in the lamp. But perhaps the most important of Lewis's many inventions was a process of manufacturing carbon filaments that resulted in a superior filament that lasted much longer than the ones Edison made from other materials. The patent of Lewis's invention was assigned to his employer, the United States Electric Lighting Company. Soon, Lewis was called upon to install some of the first incandescent electric light plants in New York City. Later, he was sent to London to set up an incandescent lamp department for the Maxim Weston Electric Company. Then in 1884, Lewis received an offer from Thomas Edison to work with the engineering department of the Edison Electric Light Company. In 1890, he was transferred to the legal department, where he was of tremendous value to Edison, defending his patents as an expert witness. The son of escaped slaves who made their own way from Virginia to Massachusetts, Lewis Howard Latimer made many contributions to better the lives of people everywhere. And that's Lewis Howard Latimer, electrical engineer who patented an electric lamp that was obviously superior to that of Thomas Edison. Manufacturing carbon filaments that resulted in a superior filament that lasted much longer than the ones Edison made from other materials. So it was the carbon filaments that Lewis Latimer used to make not only a superior light bulb or a lighting lamp, but they also lasted a lot longer. And also he was the one that you had to go through in order to get your patents accepted, or to get your inventions accepted for a patent. And the draftsmen, these are the people that obviously know more than the inventors themselves. I mean, you have to go through them to have your patent secured. So you had to go through people like Lewis Latimer before your patent was secured. You had to go through him, and he had to take a look at it. He had to take a look at it first and make sure all the calculations were straight. The drawings were clear and legible, and all the inner workings and calculations were correct from top to bottom as I come out of here. But yes, Lewis Latimer, as a draftsman. And so he was so good that Thomas Edison had to hire him to work in his department, going from an electrical engineering department to the legal department. To the legal department. So yes, Lewis Latimer, 1848 to 1928. So he helped to move through a lot of inventions from people at the start of the Industrial Revolution. And this is post-Civil War. The great mind of Lewis Latimer. Oh, gosh. Great people that you would never You would never even know because, we here in American society, all we do learn about is, and I've said it before on many occasions, about how Thomas Edison uh, successfully found 10,000 ways that the light bulb wouldn't work. Right? Until that one day. But here comes Lewis Latimer to use a carbon filament, manufacturing carbon filament that made a superior incandescent light bulb, right? And it lasted longer. It lasted longer. Lewis Latimer. Again, great people that you wouldn't ever hear about. You won't hear about this man in the public school system. You just won't. You'll hear about Thomas Edison. You'll hear about Thomas Edison. You'll know great detail about Thomas Edison. You'll learn about Alexander Graham Bell. You'll learn about Alexander Graham Bell, and not taking anything away from either one of them because they were great, from the communication wires to the cell phone. That's how far we've come with telecommunications. Alexander Graham Bell. So not taking anything away from him at all. Obviously, Dr. Graham Bell wanted to work with Lewis Latimer because he saw the genius in him as well, just like Thomas Edison did. It's amazing. I have one more person I'm going to highlight here, and this is great. Matter of fact, he is another electrical engineer. Yeah, he's another electrical engineer. Again, at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, and it kind of says it right here. The next person I'm going to highlight is Granville T. Woods. Granville T. Woods from Columbus, Ohio. Electrical engineer. Granville Woods, let me come over here this way. Granville Woods was one of the pioneers of the Industrial Revolution. During his career, he patented nearly 200 inventions. Matter of fact, let me put his picture up here too before I get too far into his story. Let me go right here. There he is. So let me start over here. Granville Woods was one of the pioneers of the Industrial Revolution. During his career, he patented nearly 200 inventions. Some people call him the, quote, Black Edison. Or you can call Thomas Edison, maybe even better, you can call Thomas Edison the white Granville T. Woods. How about that? Oh, but the comparison was unnecessary. Granville earned his own place in history. Granville was born in 1856, several years before the Civil War began. Because slavery was prohibited in Ohio, he was born free. See how that works? The South wanted slavery. The North didn't want nothing to do with it. When he was 10 years old, Granville quit school and went to work in a machine shop to help his family. When he was 16, he moved to Missouri and took a job as a fireman and engineer on the railroad. There, he developed an interest in science and read all the books about science that he could get his hands on. When he moved to New York City, he found a job in a machine shop and went to school at night to learn about electricity. Later, he worked on a steamship for 2 years and visited many parts of the world. Granville began his career as one of America's most talented inventors in 1884. His first invention helped steam boiler furnaces, heat homes and buildings better. Later that year, he invented a new telephone transmitter. In 1885, he patented the telegraphony, a device that combined the telegraph with the telephone. He sold the rights to the American Bell Telephone Company for a large sum of money. Granville's next invention allowed conductors and engineers on moving trains to send and receive messages for the first time. On January 29th, 1901, Granville received a patent for one of his greatest inventions, the third rail. The third rail powered subway trains with an electric current, replacing electric engines. Granville's third rail is still used today in subway systems around the world. Several devices Granville invented led to the development of the automatic air brake. He sold the rights to these creations to the Westinghouse Electric Company of New York. Granville faced many difficulties during his career. He went to court many times to protect the rights of his inventions. Even Thomas Edison's company tried to claim the rights to one invention. Granville, however, proved his right in court. Edison offered this great inventor a job with his company, but Granville wanted to be his own boss. Few inventors have contributed more to the electrical industry than Granville T. Woods. Wow. Again, these are people that you just won't hear about in the public school system as I take this down. Oh, Granville Woods. And he sold the rights to these some of his creations and inventions to the Westinghouse Electric Company of New York. And Westinghouse, I think Westinghouse was the person that funded Nikola Tesla for a while. He funded Nikola Tesla's inventions so he can demonstrate them for the world. And I guess Granville Woods sold some of his inventions to Westinghouse Electric Company. And then here we go with Thomas Edison trying to lay claim to the inventions of Granville Woods. Matter of fact, I think a couple of people have tried to, I think Thomas Edison tried to take claim for a few people's inventions. I think Granville Woods won twice in court. If I'm not mistaken, he won twice in court. But yeah, Granville Woods creating what we know now as a walkie-talkie, where you can talk to people through this device. Oh, mixing the telegraph with the telephone. Yeah, pretty much the walkie-talkie. You see truck drivers on their walkie-talkies talking to their home base, wherever that is, wherever that may be, or communicating with other truck drivers on a different feed or on a different frequency. He understood all of that. He understood. And these are things that most people at that time thought that Black people couldn't even fathom thinking about, because we were just considered slaves, right? Slaves, ignoramuses, right? Nomads, Neanderthals. That's how we were looked upon, especially pre and post Civil War. You know, I mean, a man of this intelligence was unheard of. right? In general society. But obviously, at Granville Woods, he has nearly 200 inventions under his belt. 200. I mean, his inventions were so great that Thomas Edison tried to lay claim to a couple of them. And these are people that, again, you just won't hear in the public school system. And these are people that have obviously contributed greatly to the advancement of general American society. They just have. And they deserve to be acknowledged. And I'm glad that Wade Hudson put this book together. And this is for young readers. This is for young readers. And it's an easy read, you know, for young readers and adults alike. But this book was specifically made for younger readers so they can get a glimpse on history, Black history, or African American history. And this is all coming from the Book of Black Heroes, Scientists, Healers, and Inventors, an introduction for young readers by Wade Hudson. And this book is great. I just gave you three individuals that have done great things to contribute to American society. Dr. Mae Jemison, astronaut, the first Black woman to go into space back in 1992. Lewis Latimer approved the patents. Approved all the patents because he was that damn good, and created his own drawings and drafted up many inventions of his own, and made more superior contributions to the electric light bulb and how we use electricity today. And then we have Granville Woods creating what we know as the walkie-talkie and other inventions. 200 inventions to his credit. 200 inventions. And a lot of these names in this book are familiar to me because, you know, I grew up in the what I guess now is considered the golden era of hip hop. And we just celebrated the 50th anniversary of hip hop. And there's one song that stands out for me where all these names just kind of stuck with me for all these years. It's a song by Boogie Down Productions called You Must Learn. It's from the 1988 release called Ghetto Music, the Blueprint of Hip Hop. And I encourage all of you to go and check that out, especially for people that are in younger generations, maybe 30 and under, that love hip hop, that do listen to what we now consider old school hip hop. But You Must Learn, KRS-One, he mentioned many of these people that I just highlighted, and a few other people that are highlighted in this book. But I specifically remember him talking about Lewis Latimer, improved on Edison, and Charles Drew did a lot for medicine, right? Garrett Morgan made the traffic lights, and Harriet Tubman freed the slaves at night. Yep. Talking about Eli Whitney and Haile Selassie, and Granville Woods make the walkie-talkie. Boogie Down Productions, You Must Learn. The original version is on the album, and then you have the Grandmaster Flash and Furious 5 remix. So yeah, check that out. And that's been in me for all these years, going back to my teenage years, when I was a hip hop fanatic, even at that time. But yeah, these are three people that have made great contributions to America, and they deserve to be recognized and acknowledged year round, all throughout the year, not just in February. And in this case, a leap year February, where we get one extra day of Black History Month. So we won't get this opportunity for another 4 years. But history, or African American history, is history. It is American history. And it needs to be acknowledged. And it's okay for Caucasian people to know all this. Just like we learn about Thomas Edison and Alexander Graham Bell and Nikola Tesla. We learn about them in school, right? So why is it not okay to learn about Louis Latimer, right? And him making a superior light bulb. Why are we not learning about that in the public school system? Not just during African American History Month, but throughout the entire school year. And Granville Woods, right? So there's more detailed information about all of the people that I've highlighted throughout this series. And I may even go into highlighting even more people from this book and other books throughout the year, because African American, or what we call Black history, is American history, and it deserves to be acknowledged all year round. So periodically, I may just pull the book out again and read about some other great people that have contributed to all the things that we do today, every day, things that we use every single day that we don't even consider that were from the great creative minds of people that look like me. So as I wrap up, I'll be back to talk about other events and other happenings, because there's been a lot of stuff happening recently in a lot of different areas of life. And I'll be back to highlight many of them real soon, because it's a lot going on. But I thank everyone for tuning in. Thank you all. And like I always say, whether it's one person, 100 people, or 1,000 people, it doesn't matter. My job is to bring the information, and it will permeate. It will permeate to those that it's supposed to permeate to. So thank you all for listening. Once again, go to my YouTube channels, The Kinetic Hour, right here, The Kinetic Hour, and also Kinetic Fit and Wellness Info. And once again, that's Kinetic. That's Kinetic, Kennetic. Kinetic, The Kinetic Hour, and Kinetic Fit and Wellness Info. Till next time.